Okay, y'all, we're gonna try this again. Happy Tuesday. It's Talk It Out Tuesday here in March. Happy March. We're gonna have a good conversation today. I know that y'all are going to really enjoy it. I'm excited. So let's see. We're just waiting on our guests to come in. All right. I hope that y'all are having a productive and great week so far. I know it's only Tuesday, but if y'all's Mondays are anything like my Mondays, they start already just with a bang. So I hope that you all are off to a great start for your week and are productive or getting rest if you need it. Okay. So we're just waiting on our guests to request to go live with us. Here we go. Our request is in. All right. Let's go live. All right. Just waiting on.
Hello, hello, hello. Let
Oh,
me get
how
this
are
filter
you?
together because I'm tired today. So I got to give me a good
You know
filter.
what? I want to play around with those because I've been seeing everybody having a filter on live. So let me play with one today.
Baby, I
Because I
I got
never
you
use
today.
them. And I'm just like, let me use one. So what do you do? Just touch this right here? Look at us. We so funny.
Yes, I have to today, honey. How are you?
I'm good, sweetie. How are you?
I'm good. Hanging in there, girl. Hanging in there.
Oh, Lord. Let me let that sit. I'll play with
Listen, I'm
that.
playing with it
I
too much.
love
I'm
you.
gonna knock myself out. Oh,
I know,
that
right?
ain't it either.
I know. Look, that's not gonna do right there.
Move this out the way. Let me try to
That
figure
is so
something
funny.
out.
I like that one. I mean, hey, you do which one you like.
Yeah, girl, you know you can talk. I'm gonna play. Okay, I think that'll work. All right.
All right. How's your
Whew.
day going, sweetie?
It's going, girl. I feel like I'm in running, but I'm
Yes.
excited because
Yes.
today is my last official day working. And so
Okay.
yeah, I have the rest of the week off. So God is good, huh?
Yes.
So I'm gonna take
Yes,
full advantage
today's
of that.
off. Yes, I just finished off this week and then my vacation starts on Friday. So I'm
Hmm.
just like, if I can just get to Friday,
Yeah,
I'm
if I could just make
gonna
it. If
be
I could just
good.
make it through,
Just make
right?
it through. You know, when like your day off or your vacation is on the horizon, it just seems like it's just a long road ahead.
A
And it's like I
long
just have to
road,
make it through and get there. So that's
but we're
exciting.
making it. We're doing
Hopefully you can
it.
get you some rest on your days off.
That's the plan. That's
Well,
the plan.
I won't hold you too long tonight, but first and foremost, thank you so much for being here and joining
Super.
me on Talk It Out Tuesday. I always love to be able just to have just genuine, comfortable, and just cool conversations with different individuals. And I know that our topic tonight is about defining and creating, your own self-image in whatever way that you see fit. And first,
Hmm.
you're always just your platform is such an inspiration to me. You're one of those people who like because you're consistent and you like are constantly posting and just doing things. I'm like, she made me want to stay up on my game, right? So
Listen, thank you.
and so I'm always inspired and really happy that you're here on today's Talk It Out Tuesday. So why don't we just go ahead and hop into introductions? Why don't you tell everyone who you are and a little bit about yourself?
For sure, for sure. Well, thank you, T. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be a part of this Talk It Out Tuesday. Hello, everyone that is joining us. Make sure you share with someone
Yes.
who may enjoy this conversation. I'm sure they're going to enjoy it. My name is Angela Cherie. I am the host of the Ever Evolving Podcast, founder of Ever Evolving Women. Both of those platforms seek to inspire, encourage, and empower women and men occasionally as well. But I just share my story. Like I keep it
Yeah.
1,000. I keep it a buck, and I share my story. And in sharing my story, it's been, I use the platforms to do that to help others. And so it's real simple. Nothing too much
Yeah.
about me.
Well, I love that you have created a platform to be able to share your story to you, like you say, empower and inspire women and also men. We're not going to forget
Yeah,
about
for
it
sure.
as well, because I think that that'll be a really cool point of our conversation about, telling your story and what that looks like. I know that there are a lot of people who want to share their experiences and share their story, but still
Hmm.
are trying to figure out how to do that
How?
in a productive way. So I know that at
Right.
some point in our conversation, we'll talk about that. But
Mhm.
why don't we go ahead and just talk about, defining your own image? What does that look like for you? How have you come into that? And how does that resonate with you?
Listen, I think that I am, everything I do is called ever evolving. It's a reason for that. I think I'm always trying to be cognizant of the image that I put out. So
Yeah.
this answer is not coming from a place of perfection. And y'all don't have to excuse me for getting settled here. I'm used to hosting lives, so I didn't know how I was going to look. So you see me moving, bear with me. But as far as defining my image, what it means to me is basically not allowing anyone to get the wrong idea about me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's what image is, right? It's how you
Yeah.
are defined,
Yeah.
be it right or wrong, whether it's fair or unfair.
Mm-hmm.
What you put out, people have a perception.
Yeah.
And, we have to be aware of that. And so for me, it's just controlling my own narrative
Yeah.
and doing the best I can. Sometimes you won't be able to, people are going to think what they want to think. But,
Yeah.
I try my best to make sure that I'm clear about
Yeah.
who I am, what my belief system is. And, I try my best to allow my brands to exemplify that as well.
Yeah, it's almost like, you're saying that you are very intentional and making
Very.
it clear what you stand for and
Hmm.
what you want people to know that you're about and
Yeah.
about your platform. And I feel like that's definitely a way that we relate,
Mhm.
in creating my platform. I want to do the same thing, right? Like there are specific things about me, the way that I think and feel on things. And like, I want my brand to exemplify that, right?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want you to get the wrong idea. I want to make it very clear, like, this is how I think about things. I
Hmm.
do believe that positive thinking is a thing. Whether you
Yeah.
believe it or not, I'm going to keep pushing that idea because that is
For
my
sure.
brand. And sometimes, I've had, it's interesting, right? Because I've had conversations with people who'll say like, "Oh, like your social media or your this is so cookie cutter." Like that's not you, or like you only post these type of things. You only talk about these type of things. Like what else is there? And for me, I'm like, well, what else is there? Is that's my brand? Like, I'm sorry, what am I supposed to be doing out here in these streets that's beyond what I want to show people about myself?
Let me just say that's code word for we don't know enough about you. We want to know more. We being nosy.
Yeah,
I've learned that is just a very polite way of saying what's going on. What's behind the page.
yeah,
And then there are, I mean, let's be honest too. Again, I keep it a buck. There, a buck 50. There are a lot of cookie cutter um pages. I don't know if I can pronounce. There are a lot of them that you
yeah,
literally don't know if you're searching or you're scrolling. You're like, well, did I just see this? Did I just see that? But it's somebody
yeah.
somebody totally different, but everybody's using the same apps and the same presets and all of those
Hmm.
things. And that's why I don't get into all of those things. But
Yeah,
usually that's just people's way of saying they want to know a little bit more. What's up? You know.
yeah. And I think that that's interesting because when I think about like social media and creating your own brand and I think about like you can create it however you want it to look. Like I don't
Wherever you
have to
want.
show you everything, right? Like in defining my own image, that means that there are set things I want you to see, and that's all you're gonna see.
And that's okay. I
Yeah.
listen. I am an advocate for it. I do
Yeah.
not use my social media platforms for my personal, like just a personal billboard, if you will,
Yeah.
for the whole world to know every nook and cranny of my life. First of all, that falls under the category of none of your business. And furthermore, I think that especially when you have a platform,
Yeah.
you have to have some things for you, just for your
Yeah.
sanity,
Yes.
just for your sanity and well-being.
Yes. Yes. And I think this is a natural segue into another question that I wanted to be able to ask you about, like, in what ways do you feel like you see people struggling with that on social media? Like, because I say that because some of the celebrities that I admire the most are celebrities that I don't know what's going on in their personal life. It's like when they post things that are like advertising for their brand, conducive to their brand. Like I like to give the example, it took Beyonce putting the whole album out for us to really, really know
What was
what
going
was
on?
happening in her marriage and things
Yeah.
like that. But I feel like I see people struggle with that. Do you feel like you see the same thing?
I struggle with it sometimes. Let
Yeah.
me be real. There are times if I'm feeling some type of way a certain day, I may post something or post a
Yes.
picture because I feel like I look good, huh? And then after I post it, I'm like, oh my, I feel like a
Yes.
slight conviction, like
Yes.
maybe you shouldn't have done, not condemnation, but conviction, and just
Yeah.
this light bulb moment of, or this awareness that, yeah, that probably was too much, sis. And there are so many times where I have posted and took it down maybe 5 minutes later,
Yes.
because either it got the wrong attention or I just did
Mm-hmm.
not feel like that was true to my core belief, and one of
Yes.
my core beliefs is being classy and staying modest, and
Yes.
I'm just not gonna put everything out there. So when I
I
post
agree.
something that may be a little bit more provocative, I'm like, ooh, girl, wait a minute, because I can't help what I got, but that doesn't, I have to be aware of those things. And so I have
Yeah.
moments where I struggle, and I just because I am very honest, I'm very honest and direct, but again, let me say this: when you have a platform, you have a responsibility. Whether
Yes.
you
Yes.
want it or not, whether you
Yes.
asked for it, it may not be fair. It may not, people may not, believe it, but it's true. That's
Yeah.
why you see a lot of these celebrities that have to pay for the tweets that they post years ago,
Yeah.
and they have to pay for the things that they do, and they're like, I'm human. Everybody, no. When you have a platform, unfortunately, a
Yeah.
part of the platform is having a responsibility. That's why I always tell people I could care less about trying to be famous and be known, because the
Yes.
responsibility is great. You have to be aware
Yes.
of what you post and how you post it. So yeah, I struggle, and I see a lot of people struggle because of that, not realizing that there's a responsibility in having a platform, but also
Yeah.
imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is real.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
see somebody else doing it and you feel like you can do that, but they may think that's okay for them and not okay for you.
For
I
you.
can't post on my pages me in no bikini, even if I am at the beach, because people gonna be like,
Yeah.
what in the world is wrong with her? She don't even
Oh
look so fine.
no.
But someone else can do it and it's okay for them. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that I don't get to live my truth. Let's
Yeah.
clarify that. I
Yes.
can still be on the beach in a bikini.
Yes.
However, I may not post it on my my
Page.
my,
Yeah.
my podcast
On your
page.
on your it's
So
and you know
I'm
what's
still
so
gonna live
funny?
my truth. Yeah.
You know what's funny? Like, and these are reasons why I have like my personal page and then I have my podcast page because I feel like I have a brand here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are some things that I see that I want to repost and talk about that maybe aren't necessarily applicable to my podcast page. But and I kind of have started. I'm like that on my personal page too. But I guess I say this because I'm with you. Like there are times where I'll see like I want to be petty. Somebody made me mad, and I saw something that I know I can post, and I know they're gonna see it, and I know
Or
that they're gonna
typing.
feel that I'm coming for them.
Talk
I
about them.
am, but I have to think about okay, but Taylor, in the same light, like you are talking about positivity and positive thinking and all of this stuff that comes with self-care and self-confidence and all this stuff,
Yeah.
but you're gonna be petty at the same time. Like to me, it goes back to like you said, I have a responsibility to show people that this is a way of living. And even in those times where I want to just be like, man, forget this, like they need to know how I feel.
Yeah, I mean,
I have to
sometimes it's
remind
mixed
myself.
match. Yeah, that's
Yes.
so true. Sometimes it's mixed match. Sometimes the brand is positive, but the attitude is stink. And people,
Yes.
let me let you know, people they see that. People ain't
Yes.
crazy. They know when you are being true to who you are and when you're not. And like I said, I'm gonna always be honest. Now I'm gonna say how I feel. Because again, I have to live my truth. However, again, there are bounds within that, and I can't just go off the handle because I
Yes.
feel like it. I
I
always tell
feel
people,
like
because
it.
you feel like it, don't make it right.
Exactly.
And whatever that's a general statement, but whatever
Yeah,
that means for you. And again, what it's all about your personal belief system. What may be
exactly.
okay for T, what may be okay for Angela, may
Yeah.
not be that for you, and that's
Yeah.
okay. That don't mean that we being
Yeah.
fake and you being real or vice versa. It's just not a part of my belief system. So I'm gonna respect
Yes.
you, respect mine.
And another thing when it comes to operating off of feelings, like our feelings change. In that moment, like for me, I might want to be petty in that moment, but like you said, in 5 hours, when I'm
Yeah.
over it, like I'm gonna be like, why did I post that? And I
Mhm.
go through that complex sometimes. Like just the other day, right? I'm like, COVID's been happening. I haven't been out with any of my friends. Like I miss getting dressed up and going out. So I have all of these videos that we'll film, but none of us ever post. So I'm like, well, what would it hurt if I just like stick one video up there of me dancing and all that? I'm like, well, it would hurt your brand, because like you said, like
Mhm.
I try to exude like being classy and being confident and all of that. So like certain things that you post are gonna go against that. And then, hi Taylor. And that just throws it all off. So it's really important to know that, like you said, that we do have a responsibility, whether you want it or not. I think that that's the reason why I ran away from podcasting and YouTube and all of that, because I was like, there's gonna come a time where I'm gonna have to question if posting certain things or saying certain things are aligning with my brand. Do I want to live like that? But to hear you say that doesn't mean that you can't be truthful
You
and that
gotta
you
be,
can't
yeah.
be true to yourself. It just means that you have to be cognizant of certain things and whether or not they're aligning with the self-image that you're establishing.
Correct. And to me, people get so caught up on brands that they become inauthentic a lot of times, where
Yeah.
they're so concerned with what the brand looks like when the brand is not authentic to who they really are. I will
Yes.
never allow my brand to be so much whatever, and then
Yes.
because I'm real down to earth. I
Yes.
love God, I love people, so I
Yes.
don't want to post all these pretty pictures that are not, some days, yes, it's like, and I post those times when I'm like, I need God today. I'm not
Yes.
feeling real Christian today. I want to fight.
Exactly.
No. And I remember about those moments. But then after I say that, I will say, but God, I'm asking you for help.
Exactly.
It's gonna always be me. So I
Yeah.
don't want to put out a brand. I'm saying I don't want to put out
Yeah.
a brand that is showing perfection, because
Yes.
that's not true to who I
Not
am.
me.
So you have
Yeah.
to just make sure that your brand is in alignment with who you are,
Who you
your
are.
authentic self.
Yes, and it's so amazing you saying that, because I was going to ask you, like, why is it important to be intentional about creating your own self-image? And I feel like it's what is exactly what you're saying. Part of that is because people will know when you're not being authentic. Like
People ain't
people
crazy.
will know, even if you, like you said, like you are mastering exactly what you post and how you post it and how you say it. People can still see that disconnect, just as people who we really are attracted to can see when you're being honest and intentional, and people will love you for that. People will say, like, I see your true energy through everything that you're saying and creating your image to be about.
Right. And again, I don't want anyone controlling my narrative. I
Yeah.
don't want anyone taking what they see and saying, well, this is who she is, when that's not at all who I am.
Yeah.
Again, I'm never coming from a place of perfection, always progression. That's why everything I do is called ever evolving, because that is true to who
Yes.
I am. So I named
Yes.
my brands that, so people will never get it twisted and think that they're going to come to anything that I do and be like, oh, she already, no, 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 no. I'm ever
Yes. Ever
evolving. I'm ever
evolving.
growing, ever learning, ever understanding who I am. And
Yeah.
so I never want to get the game messed up. I never want people to, because that's what image is. I don't
Yes.
want anyone, even trying to put me in any categories or in boxes. Like, I want to be clear.
Yeah.
I want to be clear, and I want people to be clear when they read my book. What is this about?
Exactly. Intentionally controlling your own narrative, knowing that
Intentionally
you
controlling
have
it.
every power and every right to choose what you're putting out there and what
Yeah,
you want people to know and understand. And I
for sure.
think that Black Girl Coffee Podcast,
Hey,
yes.
Jessica.
She's like, yes, he's been very vocal. Thank you for your interaction. Because it's true. Oftentimes you see people say that I'm struggling because I want to like show myself, but I also want to be stuck to this brand or this idea that I'm like
Yeah,
trying to put out there
yeah,
about myself. It's like you can do both, boo. It actually is
yeah,
gonna work out better when you do both.
yeah. It works out better when you're yourself. We
Yeah,
struggle when we're trying to be something that we're not, right? Because it's
yeah,
easy to be who you are, because that's who you are. But when
yeah,
you try to be something you're not, that's when you struggle. And I lived
yeah.
so many years like that. I
Mm-hmm.
refuse in my 30s to be sitting up here
Say
trying
that.
to, be a mask. What they say, put on a mask and be like
Yes,
I'm in a
yes,
masquerade or a play. Like I've lived that. And it was
yes,
like a hamster wheel. I was going nowhere fast, just trying to
yes,
keep up and trying to do this. And maybe they'll like it if I do this. And maybe they don't like
yes,
it when I do this. They don't like it when the devil is a liar. No, this is who I am. And
yes.
this is what you're going to get. And the people that are for you will be
Are for you.
attracted to your authentic self. Those
Yes.
that are not, they're going to be, oh, what's wrong with you? And, oh, why you don't see nothing about what you do in your real life? And all that other stuff. The people who know you, understand you, and get you, and people who know me, they're not going to judge me off of my social media, no way.
Exactly,
Oh,
because they know you.
okay. Oh, well. I got in trouble there. But people who really know you, they're not
Yeah,
going to make an assumption based off of what you post on social media. That is the
yeah.
let me tell y'all this. I'm gonna shut up in a minute. But that is a pet peeve.
Chocolate.
Stop taking what people post like so seriously. Your friend posting a post or a meme. Was she
Mm-hmm.
talking about me? If you know me, come to me and talk to me and ask me.
Yeah.
Okay? All right, I'm done.
I see that Beauty KO1 says yes, you can have a limiting mindset. You have to believe wholeheartedly that you deserve it. Absolutely. And it's interesting that you say that and thank you for that comment. And also to your point, Angela, because when I was running away from creating my own platform and everything that I do today, it was because I was stuck in people pleasing. And that's how I wanted to live my life. But like you said, I wasn't getting anywhere and people weren't even liking me. Like I'm literally trying to live my life based on making people like
Listen,
me. And they still
they
wasn't
won't
liking
study.
me. They still wouldn't even like me, right? And then so when I transitioned to living in my truth, and creating a platform for me to talk about things that make me happy and hopefully inspire other people, you get this whole wave of people that support you out of nowhere. And it's like, man, I should have been doing this. Like, I should have been doing being myself and living, living in my truth. And it's amazing. I encourage any of you all out there who are struggling. She's told you the best thing that you can do is live in your truth, be honest with yourself, and just be yourself. My dad used to say that growing up all the time, girl. And I used to hate that. He's always be like, be yourself. Y'all be trying to be like everybody else. Be yourself. Be yourself. And now that I'm older, I'm like, yes, be myself. Thank you,
Yourself.
Dad.
Yeah, yeah. And it evolves,
Yeah.
sometimes being yourself is being honest with yourself. And the
Mm-hmm.
fact that, ooh, I don't, if I go back and look at my timeline, or I go back and look at certain things, maybe I don't really like that. So
Yeah.
let me go, like, God help me with that, or let me go to
Yeah.
therapy and fix that, or let me, whatever
Yeah.
let me have accountability partners that can tell me about, like, is this what I'm seeing? So that's another thing, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yes. And something that is always in the back of my mind, my mom used to tell my sister and I this when we were very young, like what you do and what you put out there has a way of following you. You never know who you want to be in the future and you never know what you want to do. And if you can control certain things like what you post, you don't want things to come up that will prohibit you from moving forward. She said, especially as being a Black woman, like people are gonna look for things to hold you back. I mean, you see how when people are running for office and trying to do something, they rip you apart. They go looking into your background. So my
Yeah.
mom was always like, because her generation didn't grow up filming everything and
Right.
posting stuff. So there's
Right.
that disconnect to like, why y'all have to do all that? Like, why do you have to show all of this,
I
right?
still feel that way.
I
Yes.
know, right? And she's like, why? Because you never know, like, when that
You
will
never
come back
know.
up. So I try to think like that too. Like, it's like, I can post this because I do feel this way, and it is true. But in 5 years, is this going to come back and bite me? And I think
Right.
that's, like you said, what happens to people who are apologizing for a lot of stuff that they said on Twitter. Now, sometimes I think people are a little hypersensitive to some
For
things. Like,
sure.
that person was 15. I mean, come
For
on. Like,
sure.
but
Yeah.
then there are sometimes people have said stuff that I'm like, okay, now look, you type that out, which means you thought
You
about
thought
it.
it out. Listen, you
You
typed it out,
thought
so
it
you thought
out.
it out. Yeah.
Then you typed it out.
Right.
Then you press post. Like, you know.
Your conscience didn't talk to you a little bit. Okay.
Nobody in the room told you that that wasn't something that you needed to post.
I love that you brought that point up, though, for real, because people don't understand just because you delete it. I just want to make that point. People
Yes.
screenshot. They won't like
Yes.
it, but they'll screenshot. Just
Yes.
FYI. So.
Yes. Or just because you delete it don't mean it's gone. Like, I try to remind myself, there's a lot of stuff I'm like, oh Lord, I hope it never come back up. But it's just like, once it's out there, it's
You
out
gotta
there.
own it. Yeah.
You gotta
Yeah.
own it. So, if it comes to a point where, you have to explain that, you just gotta be prepared to explain it. Because just because you press delete doesn't mean that it's there again. So girl, this is such a good and prevalent conversation, because I don't think enough time we talk about being intentional and creating the self-image that we want and defining our self-image. So, you talked about your brand, is a lot about telling your story, because you're looking to empower people through your story. And there are some times where people kind of struggle again. And I know I brought this up earlier with, like, how do I tell my story? Do I tell too much? Do I not tell enough? Like, how do I protect my privacy, but also give people what they need to know that, that they can ever evolve? And what would you say to that person who kind of like struggles with knowing what to say and how to inspire people?
Yeah, I mean, I struggled a whole lot when I first started the work I do, because I started with Ever Evolving Women. So before the podcast was even thought of or concepted, was a concept or idea,
Mhm.
um, it was Ever Evolving Women. So these women would be like in my face, like,
Yeah.
what's up, sis? And I was like, I don't know them to be telling my business. But I've learned to use wisdom, right?
Yeah.
And there are parts of my story that I probably will never share,
Yeah.
because God hasn't led me to share it.
Yeah.
And then there are other parts that I really didn't plan on sharing. When I lost my baby, that wasn't something I planned on telling the world,
Yeah.
but it also, I felt led to, because when I
Yeah.
would share my story individually with women that were around me, they were
Hmm.
like, oh, that happened to me, but I never told anybody.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't share this. So in that, it let me see this is a void.
Yeah.
And this is something that this did not happen to me just to happen. There
Hmm.
was, unfortunately, but fortunately, there was purpose in it.
Hmm.
And so in that, I use wisdom to say, these women are coming to me. I'm sharing my story. They're crying on my shoulder. There's a need for someone to stand up and be honest
Yeah.
and say, this happened to me. So for me, it's all about wisdom. It's all
Yeah.
about discernment. There are certain things that I may share on this live that I won't share in other areas, because it's
Yeah.
not meant for that.
Yeah.
There are certain things that I've shared on the podcast. Yeah, when you feel it in your spirit, exactly.
Yes.
It's a
Definitely
knowing.
working
You
off the
really,
spirit.
really know, and being aware, and discernment is key. And people look at discernment like the churchy word, but it's, again, it goes back, that word keeps coming up, being self-aware and
Yeah.
reading the room, sis, like reading the room and knowing,
Exactly.
everybody here ain't here for the right reasons. So let me tell my story, but let me watch how I tell it, being
Exactly.
mindful of who's listening. So I always tell people, especially when you have platforms or public speaking, know your audience.
Yes.
Know your audience, know the
Yes.
need that they have, know what they're coming to hear, know what their
Exactly.
areas of healing are, whatever. Know your audience, because you'll
Yes.
know what to say and what not to say.
Exactly. And that would have been, my advice too. First and foremost, when you first start telling your story, it's going to look different 10 years later, or even 10 months later, because the more you tell it, the more you start to understand what parts are really needed to be said and what parts can be brought in, like you said, what parts can be bought in based on different audiences, right? But knowing your audience is very important. I know for me, there are certain audiences where I'm like, this is just not the right moment to mention this part of my story. And there's another audience, I'm like, this is the moment, right? For me, I think I ran away from telling my story for a very long time. And like you said, you come to this realization that a lot of people have been through that, and they don't feel confident enough to do it. So if you can feel confident enough to do it, you can start inspiring them to do it. So I would say, hey, you can always practice how to tell your story, what feels confident for you to say. But yeah, being able to use discernment and being led by the Spirit to read the room is important because, everyone's not looking for inspiration. Sometimes people are trying to be nosy. And you don't want to sit here and put all this energy into really trying to encourage somebody when they're only just trying to listen to what they can take and just run with and tell all
Carry
this
along.
business and stuff like that.
But there's
So
also another reason why I share parts of my story, right? Because
yeah.
I'm not a dummy, right? Some people have known me for a very long time, so they know a beat, they know AC Angela before Christ, and they know Angela now, and so I have to also be cognizant of that and say, you know what? No, I'm going to share that part because I know and I don't want you ever again to be able to control my narrative to say, well, I knew her when she used to. Yeah, I did. Yes, I would bust heads. So I did now, but I did. But I can say I'm not her anymore. And again, that's a testimony for other people to see the goodness of God. And if he can bring me from being that person and bring me to being loving and caring for people and helping people, then he can do the same for you. I don't glory in those things, but I can use that and say, you're not going to hold it over my head or make me ashamed of that because that's no longer who I am. So I'm sharing my story even to take away the power of other people using it and the power of the shame of it. So it's so many things, but I think that we have to understand that when we go through things and certain things happen in our lives, it's not always about us or for us. And so if something if something in your life has been traumatic or it's been crazy and you've overcome it, why keep it to yourself? Like there is so much power in sharing when you feel led to sharing that story with other people.
Yes. And when you talk about sharing it to people who used to know you, I have gotten so much empowerment from being able to share my story with people who used to know me because people used to assume all this stuff about me, but then when you hear things that I was going through at that time, it's like, no, you thought that I was disconnected as a child and I did this. Talk about like all this childhood trauma I was dealing with at home that I didn't talk about as a child, right? When I got in college, you probably thought I moved in this way, but you didn't know that I went through a horrific experience in college. Like it was just all of these things that, sometimes I love telling it to strangers, but I really like telling it to people like, you thought you knew me? You had all these assumptions. Let me tell you what I really went through. Now you know not to judge people because you never know what people are really going through.
Never know.
And also, how about you learn to tell us a little bit about what you was going through? So maybe any adjustments that I passed on you, we can clear the room for all of us, right? And it's interesting because I've had those experiences with people in my life where it was like, oh, so you was going through that, girl, I was going through this, and we both tried to say about each other, like, wow, that's crazy. That's crazy, So I really enjoyed that, to be able to hear you talk about telling your story, using discernment, using the Spirit, being able to read the room, because that shows that you, first of all, you have a connection with the higher power, which is amazing, right? But also, like you said, that you're not done. And you're aware and you're self-aware to know that in this moment, I need to protect myself by saying less. And in this moment, I feel led to share more. And that's going to be okay.
Yeah, I always tell people I'm nice, but I'm not naive. Like I can know a whole lot and I won't say nothing. I'll just be sitting here rocking and be like, I pick up on everything, That's just something God has given me. And sometimes I'll be like, Lord, I hate that I saw that. I hate that I know that. But it's okay because it does serve his purpose at the appropriate time. Something that you said was really powerful. And I think that I don't want to just brush past it. Like, I want us to really understand, like, I don't want us to be so caught up up in, we're talking about image and we're talking about the stories and the things that we put out there, I don't want us to be so concerned with other people. And it's something that you touched on, because like you said, you don't know. You don't
Yeah.
know what people are going through, especially in this time that we're living in.
Yeah.
All of us got something going on, and all of us
Exactly.
in one way or another at one point in this pandemic have been struggling. And
Yeah.
so I think that we really have to do a better job of, again, communicating
Yeah.
and not being so caught up in other people's stories and other people's stuff, but being
Yeah.
transparent, even ourselves, and worrying about our own selves.
Yeah.
Do you know how much time it takes to really just worry about your own self?
Yeah.
When you do that, you don't really have time to worry about what about everybody else doing, because
Exactly.
it takes a whole, I mean,
A whole lot.
all my time just making sure
Yeah.
Angela is good, making sure I'm healed, I'm healthy, I'm whole, I'm healing. I ain't got
Exactly.
time after I get through all that and being a mama and doing it. I ain't got time for nobody else. So sometimes the energy that we put into other people, and
Exactly.
wondering if they really who they say they are, and they were this, and I encountered her, she was this, and this was my experience with her. Just let's do better. And because we've
Yeah.
all done it, and I'm saying that even
Yeah.
to myself. I've
Same
had
here.
encounters with
Same
people and I'm
here.
like, oh, she thinks she know everything, but I don't know. That was one encounter I
Yeah.
had with that person. If I had just
Yeah.
said, you know what, I didn't really understand or maybe even like that interaction, but God
Yeah.
help me so that I don't give that out to other people. Just shifting
Exactly.
that and not making it all
Exactly.
about everybody else. There's so much
Yes.
power in that, and I'm learning
Yes.
that. I am a
Yes.
recovering judgmental Christian,
Judgeaholic.
and it's been years, because I had to go through some stuff and be embarrassed and be like, you know what, it can happen to anybody. So now
Exactly.
I don't do that with people, and I
Yeah.
allow people to just be who they are. And I say, God, I see that, but I don't really know. So just help me, like help
Help
me.
me.
I don't want.
Yeah.
I'm I'm here whenever they want to come to me. Whenever I'm here. But
And
don't worry
it's
about yourself.
great to hear that, because even when we were talking about earlier, like here, like that facade and people not being true, and maybe in the self image that they're creating online and maybe in their personal life, you never know what people are masking. So
Right.
sometimes we are so busy passing judgment on what somebody is posting and what they're doing and all of that, that we're not listening to. That's a cry for help
Cry for
that we
help.
maybe can't see because
Would
we're
be
too
so good.
busy pointing
Yeah.
fingers and being judgmental. So like you said, and working on yourself is so beautiful, because the more you work on yourself, the easier you can see people who don't work on themselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I feel like I've come into that understanding. So when I see somebody posting some things and things like that, I just like silently say, like, God, I don't know what they're dealing with. I'm asking that you cover them and protect them in whatever they're dealing with, because to me, in my spirit, I feel like there's a lot of underlying things happening that sometimes we overlook because we're too busy trying to like pass judgment. So we have a comment that's emotionally intelligence, when you don't take things personal, because how people act is about them. How you respond is about you. Yeah, definitely. And then that's the only thing that you can control: how you respond, how you think, how you come into this situation. Like you said, ultimately controlling your own narrative. So
Sure.
this has been such a great conversation. I want to, leave it open for you if you have any last advice to anyone on any of the things that we've talked about when it comes to your self-image, being yourself, being content with yourself, or also knowing how to tell your story. Is there anything lasting that you want to share?
Yeah, really quick. I think we talked a lot about, being yourself and being authentic. But honestly, if we're being very, very truthful, there are a lot of people that may watch this that don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
So when you say that, people say, okay, but they really don't know who they are. And I've
Yeah.
been one of those people before.
Same.
And so I
Same.
just want to charge you and challenge you to really discover who you really,
Yes.
really, really are. And a lot of people say that again, and they're like, okay, well, how do I do that?
How do I do it?
Um, this is who I am. I'm never going to apologize for it. But I always say the best way to figure out who you are is to go to the creator, to go to the person who created you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like if you have an equipment or appliance that goes haywire and you can't fix it, and what do? you reach out to the manufacturer, you reach out to the
Yeah.
person who created it and made it, because they know the intricate pieces of that thing, and they can make sure to replace the parts, or they know
Yeah.
inside and out. It's the same
Yeah.
with ourselves. And so
Yes.
in times when I did not know who I was, and I was trying to, be authentic, but not being
Yes.
sure who I was was like, God, show me Angela.
Yes.
This person has said this is who I am. That person has said this is who my parents have said it. But who, God,
You
how
who
let me, my prayer was, God, let me see me through your eyes. Show
exactly.
me who I really, really am.
Yes.
And every day he's doing that. It wasn't an
Yeah.
overnight process, and it's
No.
still evolving.
Yes.
But that is where you have to start. If you don't know who you are, go to the creator and ask the creator to show you. And I promise
We will do that.
that it will be granted. So
Yes. Amen. Say that, sis. And I will also add on to this, because I did this, and I know that, maybe you've done it and some other people have done it. Like, oftentimes we get confirmation on things about ourselves everywhere, but we run from it.
everywhere. Very
And
true.
for me growing up, I was always told that I was very relatable. I was a great speaker, that, I can really reach people, and just all of these things that helped me do what I do today. But I ran from it. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to do that. That's not me. So,
Yeah.
but I had to just stop one day and say, T, that's who you are. No matter whether you or not you want to admit it, that is who you are. It's
Yeah.
not by chance. 50 people you've met through your life at different phases of your life has said the
I
same
told you.
thing,
Yeah.
right? So again, you don't want people to create your image for you and tell you who you are, but there is confirmation when you're intuitive to it, that it's just telling you, like, this is what makes you special. Live in that. When you live in that, that's going to pay off so much for you. So I would encourage you all to think about those things that you're continually hearing people say about you. It's what people see in you. It's true.
Yeah.
And it's okay to live in your truth.
Yeah.
So that
Hey, Serena. Sorry.
oh no, you okay. Thank y'all so much for just interacting with us and listening to this conversation. I feel empowered, and
Yeah.
because it's just amazing to have a space where we talk about this. We will be back next week on Angela's platform, having yet another discussion, and just empowering each other, empowering you all. So she said, good job. Thank you so much. So, definitely tune in next week for Talk It Out Tuesday. She said, this is good. Thank you. And I can't thank you enough for support. Y'all don't have to show up. Y'all don't have to stay the whole 40 minutes to listen to the conversations. You can be doing something else with your time. But I thank God, and I thank you all for being here today. And thank you again, Angela. This was wonderful.
Thank
Everything
you.
I knew it would be and asked for. Your energy is impeccable, and it is amazing. And you're always just, you're real. And that's what I relate to. So thank you for being with me today. Okay, y'all. Well, until next Tuesday, y'all be safe, and we'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.